What's going on? So let me start off first by saying thank you so much for watching this video, whether it's your first time or this is one video of many that you've watched in the past that I've presented here on YouTube on my channel. I would love for you to continue to watch if this is the first time you're watching my channel. I will say that I don't post videos as often as maybe I should, but nonetheless I do post um, periodically, and when I do post, know that it's something that I really feel that I want to share and that's dear and close to me to speak on. So with that being said, if you want to, I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel, so when it is that I do post something on this channel, you'll be informed and made aware that something's posted on here. So with that, I also want to let you guys know who are watching. Um, this will be part one of a two-part video. And the reason it's two parts is because I've recorded this video several times previously in the last few days. And unfortunately, I could not get it to go lower than 28 minutes. On average, it's ran about 30 minutes. So I figured the best way to do it is to do a part one and a part two. And further towards the ending of this particular video, there will be some type of link. I forget what it's called on YouTube, but there will be a way for you, if on your device you can do this, for you to press on the video and bring you to part two towards the end of this video. So you'll go directly over to part two, and it'll be a seamless transition from this video over to that video. Okay, so we've handled all that stuff. So, this video is called Chrysalis, and the reason it's called Chrysalis is because of the fact that it's representative of the last 4 to 5 years, specifically the 4 to 5 years that I have been in this apartment and the journey that got me into this apartment. A lot of people don't know what's my story as far as this apartment is concerned. And it's been, quite frankly, because I've been ashamed to talk about the details of it, because there are stigmas and stereotypes that people have towards certain things that I benefit from. And I'm sure that once people hear certain things, they will have their opinions of it, negative or otherwise. But I have to be okay with it, and I have to be fine with my truth whenever it is that I choose to share it, and I feel comfortable to share it. I have to be okay with it and move with some level of bravery on my own part. So let's get into it. All right, so it was January 2009 when I moved out of an apartment that I was in, and the backstory to that is that I, in 2008, was having financial challenges and trouble. I had to resign my job because what I know now to be a bipolar disorder, I was suffering with a very severe episode of it that particular year. And it made me non-functional to do the things that are really important to be able to do a job or just function. I was not able to function. I was suffering a severe state of depression. One in which it was debilitating. There was an instance while I was in that apartment that very few people on earth even know happened. I was in my apartment, naked, in a corner, drinking heavily, and the police literally had to break in my door because someone who I'm close with was concerned. It was my ex who was concerned about me. And we're still cool and somewhat close to an extent. We live our lives. We're still friends to an extent. And I will say, of most of the people that I've dated over the years, though it may have not ended the best, I can say that we're at least civil and cordial at the end of the day. I just believe in not holding grudges and just moving on with your life. It happened. If you broke up, you broke up. If it ended, it ended. If you can remedy it and fix it to an extent where you can be friendly or be friends or at least be civil and cordial, by all means do so. So in the instance of that specific ex, that's the dynamic that we have. So he was concerned, and so he called the police, and they came in, and that was one instance. So financially, I was just struggling, just to support that house, and I was, hustling, to keep the bills paid, and I was making it happen. But um, December 2008, I just could not keep up. Things were just not connecting quickly enough. I could not uh, get help quickly enough. I couldn't hustle quickly enough to get things together. And so I gave up my apartment, not by choice, but by force. I was evicted. I went to court and I pleaded with the judge to help me, and he wanted to help me, but ultimately his hands were tied. The apartment complex was unwilling to be of any more assistance or help to me. They wanted their apartment and they wanted me out. And there was no talking to be done. And there was no give him more time. They wanted me out. Um, and so I had to leave. So January 2009, I moved in with the same ex who called the police in concern about me prior. So I moved in with him. And let me say during that time, it was a hard, tough thing to do. My mental state was not the greatest. Um, we were relatively young, so we were still growing up and all of that stuff. And um, it's not ever easy to live with your ex ever. Um, maybe a month and a half, 2 months later, um, I had to move out and effectively go on the streets because it became volatile. We weren't getting along. It just was a bad, bad situation. And I'm not going to play the blame game. It just was what it was. And effectively, I had to find a way with no money and a cell phone bill that was overdue. And so I was on the streets for a little while, literally sleeping on the streets until a friend took me in after she fussed and cussed me out for not telling her that all this had happened or was going on. Um, I remember one night being on the street and I had to wrap myself in towels from the hotel that I had gotten maybe a night or two because I scraped up some means to some money to get into the hotel, and so I was at a hotel. It was not the best. It was a horrible place. Let's just be perfectly clear. And given what I had in my pocket at the moment and the resources I had, it was a horrible place to stay. Okay, it's just horrible. I stayed there 2 nights, and then I had to leave because I ran out of money. And thank God I didn't get bed bugs because it was dirty. Um, I had to become very creative and inventive as to doing the hygiene thing. Um, so had that happen. Eventually, after staying with the friend for a little while, I eventually went back to the ex's house. Still wasn't easy to live there, but I just said a prayer and I said, God bless this house. No matter what it is that is going on in this house and the dynamic of things between me and this individual, bless this house because he does not have to let me stay here. Um, and I will always be grateful for him allowing God to use him to offer me shelter. Um, Eventually, despite you know um, the initial treatments that I tried, I ultimately had to go on to medication for bipolar disorder because for the year prior up to that point in March, somewhere around that time, I had been trying just merely therapy. Um, but at a certain point, I had to take medication to start managing things. Um, and I gained weight. I used to be a very small person, and those who know me know that I used to be very small. And those of you who are familiar with it, you know that antidepressants, for most people, it makes them gain weight, makes them blow up. And that was one of the symptoms I had. And I gained weight. And in effect, the little bit of clothes that I did have were not fitting. Um, and I had clothes that were not in the best of condition. And so, you know, I had all that going on. So then September 2009 comes, and my grandmother passes away. Took it extremely hard, but I managed it by the grace of God relatively well. My therapist was concerned because she was aware, and those who know me really well know that I was extremely close to my grandmother. She was the light of my world. Wasn't a perfect woman, but when you look at the sum total of all that she was, I would say she had a heart that resembled God's heart the most to me. That's just my personal opinion. That's my experience of my grandmother. I can't say too many bad things about my grandmother. Hell, I can't really say anything bad about my grandmother. My grandmother was human, just like the rest of us. You know, she taught me a lot. She was great as an individual, just great. So had that happen, and I had a supernatural kind of metaphysical thing happen where um, a piece of me seemed to come out and left me, but it also seemed as though something connected into me on a metaphysical level, and I, to some degree, felt it physically. I know that sounds weird and crazy. Sounds like some hoodoo voodoo, but it's not. But that's what I felt. And after that, there was a different kind of way that I interacted with the world, how I perceived things, how I was. The best of who she was awakened in me. Memories of things that she did that were great things at their core. I started to do, not because I made any intentional effort to do them. It's just the way things flowed, and so that happened. Um, I applied for disability benefits because a whisper from God said, you know, son, this is a real thing. You are disabled. You're mentally disabled. You have bipolar disorder, and you need help. So do this. And I had heard the naysayers before say, well, you know, it's really hard to get it, and they always refuse it you the first time, and this, that, and the other. I needed no help from a lawyer. I did the application myself. Um, was evaluated by one of the government's doctors. And I remember leaving that office because apparently he saw something I didn't. Because I was maybe in denial of some of the things or whatever. But he said to me, because I burst into tears by the time the, the interaction was over. And he took my hand and he said, I'll make sure that you're okay. It's going to be all right. And it took a little while for the process to go on, but eventually, at the end of it all, I started receiving disability benefits to help support myself. So after that, then I was led, and something said again. The same whisper from God said, "Well, now it's official. You are recognized as disabled with a mental health uh, condition." So that voice said, the voice of God said, start looking for resources for housing for disabled individuals. And the first place I went that I was led to go to was the Housing Authority of Houston. Um, and it just so happened that plastered on the front page of their website was, attention, um, we have a specialized program for Katrina and Rita evacuees and those affected by those storms. Well, I had a FEMA number. I was affected by Katrina, in fact, and uh, so I qualified. For those of you who are watching for the very first time or who don't really know me, I am from New Orleans. Moved here when I moved to Houston when I was 21, just on a whim, wing and a prayer, and took my final flight from New Orleans pre-Katrina, August 10th, um, 2005, and then a few weeks later, Katrina hit. That's a whole nother story. If you want to, you care to, I think the video might be up. It may not be. But yeah, there's a whole video on that. I may have to reactivate it. I took a lot of videos from being active. Um, but so anyway, um, I went through the processes, and I tell you, it was a 3-month turnaround from me filling out the application, getting it done, getting approved, and moving into my place. I moved into my place that I'm sitting in right now, um, October 2010. So almost 5 years ago, I moved into this apartment, and it was a blessing to me. Um, Still is a blessing even at this moment. And so, yeah. So this is part one. Part two is next. Go watch that. Right about now, there should be a link on the actual video itself. If not, I will also remind myself, hopefully, to put it in the description or the more info section below this video so you can click the link, go watch part two, and get the rest of the story. So this is part one. All right. So go watch part two. All right.